also known as the Rising Phoenix. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to talk about the litmus test. So what is a litmus test? It's a simple, decisive test. It's just the simplest way to explain it. So, how was I using it in combat? Well, I wanted to get into the ring simply to figure out how tough I am, how tough my opponent is, and to really gauge what this real force is like. Now, I went through a lot of training, visited my friend's dad out in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, did some high altitude training to kind of really prepare myself. So I get there on my first day, and they're like, "All right, you're gonna be fighting this guy over here, Odinsson." And I'm like, "Oh, all right. We got a guy who likes Norse mythology. I can dig that." So I get up against Odinsson, right? And the first thing that I noticed, that the middle of his delt is eye level. This means that my face is perfect target practice for him. All he has to do is just throw that forward, and boom, there's my face. And woo, you know, Odinsson. He chose the proper name because every hit that he gave, it felt like a hammer smashing on my skull, right? So when that first pop happens, this little scar, right, was from that opening punch. The first thing that enters my mind is, fuck, he hits hard, right? How hard was he hitting? Every punch that he landed, which was like over and over and over. It caused my brain to interpret it as just white flashes of just completely obscuring my vision. Like, that's how hard he was hitting me. So that was enlightening. Then the second thing that came to my mind of, like, you know, as he's on this rampage, is like, man, when's this guy ever gonna stop? I mean, he's not gonna stop. Now, this is where I got into something a little interesting, right? Because when I visited my friend's dad out in the Rockies, his daughter was also there, and she's both an MD and a DO, so she combined Eastern and Western medicine. She took a look at me. I had a micro tear in my right hip. Apparently it's really common for martial artists when they overuse one leg and underutilize another, and so your pelvis, which is supposed to sit like this, gets turned like this, and that's what was going on. So she fixed that, and she gave me a rule. She's like, "Hey, no kicks above the hip for a month." I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's yeah, sure, right, I'll follow that." My fight was 2 weeks later, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can get in there and not kick, yeah, that's not a problem." I really like kicks, actually. And there's this weird thing about reverse psychology, right? Like, for example, if I tell you, "Hey, don't think about a pink, purple, polka dotted elephant," what's the first thing you're going to think about? Right? We're rebellious by nature, it seems. So I'm in there and I'm thinking, "Hey, don't kick with your right knee. Don't kick with your right leg. Don't kick." And after a minute of this barrage of Odinsson coming in, the first thing that I did was I grabbed him and threw my right knee into his gut. And that was satisfying because he didn't like that. He contracted. He's like, "Oh," you know, absorbing the blow, and it wasn't pleasant for him. And that was very satisfying. Didn't realize it in the moment, but that's kind of where my trouble really started to begin. Because that was when I took that micro tear, the little injury I already had, and exacerbated it. So suddenly, and actually you can see it, you know, if you watch the fight, you see that first knee, and it lands. Second knee, he moves back, but just the knee in and of itself, he just had less power. Right? Because I made an injury already worse, but in the heat of battle, you're not thinking about that. Just suddenly there's a drop in my energy. I'm like, where's all my energy going? Aside from all the energy it was taking just to stay on my feet, because felt like hammers, man. Felt like hammers. And so after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to stop this barrage somehow. Like, I can't just sit here and take it. I've got to fight back, obviously. And this is when I do that elbow that everyone talks about. Everyone thought it was a spinning back elbow. I thought it was a spinning back elbow until I watched my hands in the video. And I'm so glad that I came up with this idea to have my right glove white and my left glove black, so that I could tell the difference between my hands of what I was doing. So that toroidal pattern that I've been talking about, this is where it comes out, right? Right hand goes up over top and traps his other arm down here, allowing me to come in with this elbow.
Get the ribs.
Now, it's supposed to be here, right? You're supposed to, this whole solid, nice thing. But when I get him, I'm here, right? With this elbow turned up. Now, I was surprised because this kind of really takes your power out of it, because it's not like proper motion like this. It's not as strong as coming in with that motion there. But apparently when you hit a button, you hit a button. Now, the funny thing about this, my eyes were closed whenever I made this strike, and the contact was so light because his head just moved, right? I thought I missed. And so for a second, I'm looking around, I'm like, where'd he go? How do you lose a guy that big, right? But then my body was just like, and watched him go down.
Ribs.
Oh. This was the first time that I discovered the mental game. And it's real, and it will hold you back, just FYI. My mind and my body were not in sync at all. And then by the time my brain caught up with my body, which honestly that moment felt like an eternity, I was just like, where did he go? There he was, down on the ground. And at that moment, that's when he's like, it was enough time for him to recover, catch me in the corner of his eye, and come back up. And I'm like, oh, there he is. Grab him, try to do it, but honestly at that point, I was having a hard time just standing. So I tried to knee him in the face with my left knee, but like, my right leg is quivering. It hurts, it sucks, right? And so then all my energy is just gone, and I'm like, come on, like what's going on with me right now? I'm not fighting at my best. And eventually, because of the blood coming down, that's when the ref stopped the fight for a moment. They pulled me over to the side to clean that up. And then Face, he comes over and he says, hey man, you can continue or you cannot. It's up to you. And I'm like, you know what? I just need another round. And he's like, you know what? I really want to just open this up with a Shaolin butterfly kick. It's one of my favorite things to do, right? Just get in there and take my right heel right up into his chin. So how's my main cannon doing? You know how my main cannon was doing? My quad. So I'm like, oh, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. I'm gonna hurt myself more if I keep going. So I'm like, okay, what sort of ancient battle wisdom can I call upon to help me out with this? And then I remember a particular saying, I forget from whom, but it's just ingrained in my mind. When you're in a fight, typically whoever draws first blood is the one who wins, right? Because if you get there, you could have been dead, right? Way of the sword, as it were. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, I want to do this, My leg, my main cannon, nah, it ain't functional. So I turned to Face, and I was like, you know what? He drew first blood, he wins. And I tipped it off to him, because, I mean, yeah, right? What I really wasn't expecting after that was the emotional fallback of that, of like, when you get in there and then you don't fight to the point where the ref calls it or they knock you out or whatever, you call it. That was really hard for me to deal with. Like, just to be honest with you, like after a minute, like, it started raining after I left the ring, started raining kind of gloomy, and the weather kind of fit my mood at that point, and I'm like, man, that's kind of depressing. Because like I gave in. I mean, yeah, I know, like I went into the ring with an injury. I didn't want to miss out on this opportunity, but it's like I still wanted to continue. I just needed another round, and I would have been fine. But I really wasn't smart to continue, right? And so I'm sitting there on the ground with this pain in my leg, and then suddenly, like, this really intense Charlie horse happens, and it feels like my quad is just doing this. And then I feel it do this, and that hurt a lot. So my girlfriend at the time, she rushes me over to the closest urgent care clinic we could find to home, and turns out I had ripped my quad a little bit. during that fight. Why? Because I did the one thing I wasn't supposed to do. So yeah, that injury was no joke, man. I was on crutches for a week. Really kind of sucked, just giving my body time to heal. And then after that, I actually took a full month of no kicks above the hip. And I sacrificed a lot of speed for that, and that really kind of showed up in my next fights that showed up. I got a lot slower after that. I mean, because that's what's going to happen, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. That's, very true. But the troubles didn't end there either. 2 weeks after that, my girlfriend at the time decided she was going to dump me for completely unrelated reasons, and that's okay, life happens. And then a bunch of other troubles kind of showed up, so it was like, it seems, life can be a roller coaster sometimes, one thing right after the other. It just, kind of like Odinsson, just keeps on hitting you, right? In this test, I learned a lot of things. A lot of things. So the first thing that I learned is reach is really something that you have to have a technique to answer, absolutely. Another thing that I learned is other advantages. So you wear a shirt, that's an advantage. They can grab onto that. I didn't think about that. Additionally, he ripped my favorite gi. Oh well, it's fine. I was pushing it a little bit whenever I first got it, and I had that nice little roundedness, and I've lost a lot of weight since then, so a shirt that was a little too tight is now way too big. So, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so that was the litmus test. I discovered how much I could take, I discovered how much they could take, and I discovered what the real force is there. So, yeah. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and yeah, see you next time.